Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for joining us at Text Messages, The Resurrection. This is the second part of our January 21st, 2019 broadcast. As we discussed in the earlier show, we're doing just 10-minute segments here. Yeah, sometimes they might run over a little bit, but by and large, the focus is 10 minutes. So when you do that little search on YouTube that says under 20 minutes short video, then we'll show up on that. But due to heavy requests from the loyal viewers, we've decided that they're just doing separate 10-minute segments will probably be an ideal way to go. And what that means is we'll probably try to pack in more quality material into each show rather than just getting caught up with fillers and silly nonsense. There might come a time where we'll get back into the silly nonsense format, but see here's what happens, ladies and gentlemen. To really appreciate and enjoy something, you sort of need to be fed it in small sample sizes at first. And then you can kind of build up an immunity or build up a tolerance, whatever the case may be, and then you can enjoy it in large sampling sizes. So we sort of did the opposite approach. We just hit the ground balls deep and did an hour-long show, which may not have been the best strategy. And in fact, one of the shows that I typically watch, that I listen to just about every day now, I first was interested in the show a few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but when I downloaded it off of YouTube, there's a host on there who was really just a really bland and lame speaker, and he wasn't really too enthusiastic in it. It appeared that he may have been reading off a teleprompter, or just reading very closely off sheets of paper. So it was just very boring to listen to him. And I sort of tuned out of the show, and I didn't really give it a second chance until a couple years later. Then I tuned in a couple years later, the normal host of the show was back on, and almost instantly I was hooked onto the show. So then it was just by having that one bad experience set me back about 2 or 3 years. Now, one of the great fears that we have here at Text Messages is that the first couple shows I did, where the sound quality was terrible, the show was way too long, the content wasn't really that good. It may have turned off a lot of viewers. And that's something that we're willing to accept. See, we're not out there to be the biggest and baddest and best. Well, we're looking more to be, think of like a hidden gem. Or like a hidden ruby or diamond or sapphire or emerald, something like that. That's what we aim to be. I mean, we're not, for one, we're certainly not going to spend any money doing marketing or any of that goofy stuff, or trying to pay off Google or YouTube to get on the top of searches. I mean, that's just not in our forte. Mostly, see, it's very important to segregate certain parts of entertainment, so that you have local entertainment and then national entertainment. Because when I was younger, the things that would interest me were on the public access channel. If there's a show that some guy filmed in his basement with his son holding a camera and telling him to zoom in on different pictures and everything, and it aired at 2 in the morning, that was a show that I'd be interested in watching. Or if there's some high school production where these kids would make these goofy videos and then they would show them on the public access channel for 5-10 minute segments. Those are the videos that I would definitely be interested in watching. And then the other thing too, when people subscribe and they got videos from way back in the good old days from our hometown and they're showing that and stuff, those are pretty interesting videos because there's an emotional attachment you can put to it. And if you just watch some old movies and everything, yeah, they're fun to watch, they're entertainment, but it doesn't conjure up the same memories and emotions that watching local things can do for you. Now that doesn't mean that we're going to conjure up all of those good fun things for you ladies and gentlemen at home, but it's mostly just expressing my philosophical viewpoint of why I think local entertainment is definitely the way to go. Now does that mean go to plays and all that goofy stuff? Not necessarily. I mean, people just, well, it kind of means going to First Avenue or downtown Minneapolis or Target Center, XL, the Myth, the Hex, just dicking around. The Keller Bar, the red carpet. You know, if Fat Man might be at the red carpet, you might make a cameo appearance. So that was another thing too. Catch Me If You Can, that 1989 movie. I mean, it's filmed in St. Cloud, Minnesota, which also hosts an Institute of Higher Learning, St. Cloud State. But it was just interesting to watch that movie to see what, for a lot of people viewing this show, it's probably their hometown. So it's just a pretty cool thing to watch. I'm sure it's on YouTube now, but the sound is not really consistent with the actual video. Well, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get into our topic today because we're trying not to get caught up with nonsense here. So, one of the most debilitating symptoms that somebody can have, or disease somebody can have, is called gut rot. I know some people that I've known personally have suffered very immensely from gut rot, to the point that they can't really function in society. And if they do attempt to function in society, it's constantly complaining about gut rot. So one of the things that can ease symptoms associated with acid reflux, also known as gut rot, heartburn is definitely a symptom associated with acid reflux. But the symptoms also can include bloated stomach, and let's see here. Some of the foods that can help you out are aloe vera juice, which is an anti-inflammatory to ease irritation in the esophagus. See, what happens is the acid, you got these muscles in your stomach. See, the lower esophageal sphincter is a ring of muscle fibers at the bottom of the esophagus. It helps to prevent food from going back up, and also allows food into the stomach. So when that thing starts to open up and the muscles aren't working properly, then the acid starts to push back up because there's a lot of pressure in the stomach. So that's why you get, sometimes if you belch incidentally, you might get that vomit in your throat. That's basically acid reflux. And then the acidic nature of it will cause a burning sensation. And it's just bad for your teeth. It causes bitter pain. It's a bitter taste in your mouth, chest pain, coughing, difficult swallowing, heartburn, possible regurgitation, tight feeling in chest, and it's worse when you're laying down. Because, you know, when you're standing up, like we are right now, gravity is working to help you digest food. Which is why when you eat a whole bunch of food and then you lay down, or when you go on an inversion table, you can kind of feel the food coming back up a little bit. And it might be just a placebo effect, but by and large, when you're standing up in a vertical position, then you're digesting food better. Which is usually, if I eat a bunch of food and I think I want to go to sleep and stuff, I'll sit on a recliner first so that you still have that vertical decline for the food to go down. And that sometimes, you know, if you're comfortable enough, you can sleep in a recliner sitting up as well, too. So some of the other foods that aid with gut rot is banana. Banana has very low acid content, and it's just, some of it can stick to the esophageal lining and smooth it a little bit. See, if you ever read about dental health, they talk about alkalinity and acidity. You generally want an alkaline mouth because if you ever think of chemistry, there's the base and the acids. You want it about right in the middle there, so it's alkaline. Because if it's too acidic, then it'll chew away your enamel. If it's too alkalinic, then it'll, I don't know what it does, but it's certainly not where it's all about keeping good balance. One of the third foods you want is papaya, which contains an enzyme papain that helps with digestion. It has short-chain fatty acids, they're called proteolytic and fiber, and they're most important for fermentation. So it also helps with your gut bacteria as well. And of course, yogurt helps too. Just make sure it's organic stuff, not the antibiotic-laden cows that probably can barely stand up before they get milked and everything. And some of the things that can exacerbate gut rot is alcohol, obesity, smoking, baked goods, chocolate, you know, the crappy chocolate. If you get 100% dark chocolate, you're probably good. But most of the time, chocolate is just laced with sugars and lactose-laden milk and part of the antibiotics as well. Citrus, coffee, fried food, peppermint, processed meat, like turkey, not deli meats, for example. Or just some of the overly processed hamburger meat that comes in the store that probably butchered a cow over in Florida and put it on a truck for a few days and then put it in a freezer and thawed it out and then brought it to a store here and put it in a refrigerator. Something like that too could definitely have a lot of deleterious effects. And soda along with spices. Now, there's a lot of different spices out there, hundreds of them. So generally a good idea to research each spice individually that you're putting in your body, or just get a basic idea of what it does. So yeah, those are a couple good ways to alleviate gut rot, or acid reflux as it would be normally called. So that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna have to put a wrap on this second incantation. And hopefully you'll join us again tomorrow night. We're certainly enthusiastic, and we did take a couple of the days off recently, so it's a little. We just want to try to hit the ground running today, and hopefully you learned something and you're informed. And thank you very much for watching. I truly appreciate your time. The last thing we want to do is disrespect you, the ladies and gentlemen at home. Thank you very much.